Hey golf people, I'm walking into my friends here at Edwin Watts in North Tampa, and we are going to check out the new Titleist irons, the T100s, T200 and T300s. Which one's going to be best for me? We're going to go find out. Let's get in there and do it. First up here in the comparison is going to be the 200. Now this is sort of the player's iron, but not quite a cavity back. We'll see how she performs. We're gonna hit a few shots here with this one. So going into this test, this is the one that I thought would have been perfect for me. Probably sits in the category, I guess, with the TaylorMade P790, the Mizuno 225s in this new line that Mizuno's come out with. And you're gonna get a little bit more forgiveness, but you're gonna get player control and feel. Now my first two shots here looked pretty good, although distance was down, but as you'll see, that's mostly due to swing speed. Now later in the video, you'll see I actually retest these clubs and try to get my swing speed up a little bit. But there's a lot of things that we can see here right off the bat. First of all, on mishits, these clubs are not as forgiving as I would have expected. Those other clubs I mentioned are generally fairly forgiving even on mishits, and you're still going to eke out some distance, whereas I really felt like my distance took a big hit unless I got center contact. There's another better shot there, and when it's good, it's great. These clubs feel great. They've got a nice forged feel to them, and they can be really nice and workable. Let's take a look at a couple more swings here. On this one, I pushed that one out to the right here. Early in the session, I was pushing a lot of things out to the right. We do correct that as we go. This one carried 131, rolling out to 139. Not exactly what I'm trying to do out there. I've been hitting my 7-iron anywhere from 155 to 165 these days, but that of course is with a pressed loft club. So it's a little disheartening when you see some of these numbers, but these were my first swings of the day, and again, we're going to go back and retest all of these clubs a few times throughout the session. All right, we're going to switch over to the 100s now. Now to me, the T100s sits firmly in the player's iron category, and I expected this to be a little bit harder to hit. The loft is actually at 32 degrees, so it's not as lofted as the T200s. But I gotta say, the feel of these clubs felt even better than the T200s. And surprisingly, on mishits, I feel like I got better results. Here's one right here, where you can see it didn't go as far offline, and it actually rolled out to something decent. When you hit great contact, you get great results like this. Really liking the sound and feel of the 100S versus the 200. Definitely, it's a considerable difference. Just feels a little smoother. The contact feels a little sharper, feels more workable. I think of the two right now, I'm definitely leaning 100S. I swung a lot of T100s because I was baffled, to be quite honest with you, that this club could feel so good. There you go, that one went out to 152 with the rollout, and I consistently hit these clubs as long, and I think really seemed even longer than the T200s. We'll have to check the stats here to make sure of that, but that's what it felt like as I was swinging those clubs during this session. The weight and the balance of these clubs felt good. I felt like I could work these clubs left and right better than any of the ones I tried today. And everything about these clubs felt better than the T200s, which I did not expect. This one is probably the best strike of the day there. 143 carry out to 153. I even think the dispersion's better with the T100S. It's very interesting. Distance seems better. Everything seems better. I'm really shocked, actually. All right, we're switching to the T300, which should be even more forgiving still. We've got a much bigger cavity back, a little thicker up top in this hollow-bodied iron. It's not a completely one-piece club. It's a couple of different layers in there. You can see they've moved a little weight down there. Some tungsten weighting should give us a little bit more mishit forgiveness. Distance should be better as well because these are a little stronger lofted. Let's see what happens. And right off the bat, these clubs have some pop. These clubs are set to 29 degrees at the 7-iron with the standard lofts from Titleist, and they've got quite a bit more forgiveness than the T200s that I swung earlier in this session. The nice thing about these clubs is even on a mishit, you're going to get pretty good distance out of it. And again, you can see that was a pretty severely mishit ball right there, and it still traveled a lot better than it did when I was swinging the T200s, and even better than the T100s. I was hitting some nice high draws with this club. Again, just eking out a little bit more distance with not as much effort, and that is the promise of game improvement clubs. This one is quite a bit chunkier. It's probably closer to the Sim 2 that I've been playing, so while I'm not usually drawn to these types of clubs, I have been playing these types of clubs here in the last year, and so to my eye, even though the T100s is the best looking of the bunch, I don't mind these too much.
Now the swing speed on the 200 was down, so I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to the 200 and see if we get some better results.
So I always want to have an apples to apples comparison, and that's why I always swing the same shafts with these clubs. And I'll go back and retest these clubs during the same session, kind of bouncing around. I don't always show that to you here in the videos, but this time I'm showing you a few extra swings. But this club still has me scratching my head. You can see here, these clubs were shorter than the T100s even with the same swing speed. And again, I felt like there is a big difference on a mishit or a less than center contact ball. And I'm going to stick by the statement where I really feel the T100s was actually a more forgiving club. This is the second time clubs have surprised me this year. It happened with the Mizunos where I didn't expect to like the 223s over the 225s, and it's happening here again. So we'll take one more swing here, which was actually a pretty good one, and we will knock out a few of the really poor mishits from some of these clubs and take a look at the stats. Let's do it.
All right, if we're looking at just swing speed, 72.3 with the 100s, 73.2 with the 200s, and 73.1 with the 300s. So that translates into ball speed of 98.3 with the 100s, 99.6 with the 200s, and 99.4 with the 300s. In terms of launch angle, 24.2 with the 100s, 25.7 with the 200s. That was actually the highest launching, and the 300s at 24.7. All really close right there. So far, everything looking very close indeed. In terms of spin, the 300s giving us the least amount of spin. That's what you'd expect, 47.72 RPMs. Surprisingly here, the most spin actually was the T200s at 5,321. And in the middle there, the T100s at 4,786. In terms of distance, the 200s and 300s really exactly the same. A couple more yards I'm squeaking out there. 137 versus 134 with the 300s. And in terms of roll, because the spin is still pretty good with these clubs, and that's actually pretty surprising because the loft is different and the launch angle was about the same though. And our rollout, or our total distance, was only a few more yards at 146 on average versus 143 for the T100s and 144 for the T200. So all in all, very similar clubs. And I definitely left in a couple of bad mishits there with the 300. So if you want a bit of more forgiving club, the 300's absolutely going to be the pick there. All in all, I gotta go with the T100s as probably my favorite of the bunch, and that's a big shocker because I would have thought the T200s all day. And in fact, I did a video at the end of last year talking about how excited I was for the T200s, but I think the 100s really would be most likely the club for me. But if I wanted a little bit more forgiveness, more close to what I've been playing recently, which is a Sim 2, a very forgiving club, I'd probably be leaning T300, and the profile feels very similar. In terms of weighting, the T100s much better for me, balance-wise and weight-wise. The T300 just a little light feeling compared to what I'm used to. I could get over that pretty quickly. That's just getting used to and comfortable with something. All in all three of these super solid clubs. Love the feel, love the looks of them all. Again, the T100 is best looking and seemingly basically the best performing for me, so pretty happy about that. Still pretty forgiving for really what they are in terms of a player's iron. 300 being the most forgiving though, so again, you need the most forgiveness, 300 is the way to go for you.
Well guys, I gotta say, I am very surprised. The T100s is the iron that would be going in my bag. Which one would be going in your bag? I would love to know. Leave me a comment down below. Let's see if we can get these things out on course here this spring. I'd love to try these on course and see if we can get the same results as we get in the simulator. It's always good to see it in real life in action. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I'll catch you back here very soon on another edition of Let's Play Through.